Hey, Catalyst crew. Welcome to Catalyst Corner, episode 27. It's Thursday, so we have Jim F0123R on with us, and yeah, let's get into it. How you doing, Jim?
I am doing okay. How you been?
Not bad. Busy.
Yeah.
You know, churning them out.
I see that.
I
can see that.
Yeah. Got pretty comfortable making the shirts now and everything.
Yeah, they're looking great.
Appreciate that. Yeah. I fell into a trap.
Oh, you did?
The artist trap yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So for those of you who don't know, we've been posting 5 new products a day on the store. It's kind of my exercise in growing everything, and, you know. And I had 4 of them done.
Okay.
And then I said, you know what? I'm going to do an illustration for a shirt today, and I'll,
Makes sense.
Yeah, on the G.I. Joe thing.
Yeah.
The parody.
Right.
12 hours.
12 hours.
That
is a day.
I knew it was a long time, because you feel it in the moment.
Sure.
But, I didn't realize it was that long.
Well, when you get into it, sometimes you kind of lose track of everything around you because you're focused in on.
Oh, I took breaks. I took breaks, but it's just you're so focused on the piece.
But still, your concentration is still on finishing that piece.
And it's hard to put it down.
Oh, yeah, once you get started.
And I'm tired. It's it was 1 a.m. when I finished, right?
Wow, yeah.
And then I had to go drop orders off. So I'm driving to the post office, and
Never
I'm
ends.
No. I'm like, this is where I get murdered.
Yeah, right. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, made it out, though.
Well, that's good.
So, have you seen anything recently?
I have.
Okay.
So, there's a movie I hadn't seen in a very long time.
Okay.
And I saw that it was on TV for free. I love the movie. I wanted to catch it. Little movie called The Toxic Avenger.
One of my favorites.
Oh, it's so good. And the thing.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Like McDonald's is good.
Right. I mean, it's campy as hell.
Oh yeah.
It's ultra gore, ultra just. But
yeah, it's got that early Peter Jackson kind of feel to it, right?
But the thing that struck me the most is, in this day and age, the way that we have cancel culture, the way we, certain things, political correctness, what have you. If you have an issue with anything, don't watch this movie, because it offends every person, place, or thing you could possibly think of. But it doesn't the funny thing is, it does it in a way where it's not offensive. And back in the day when this came out, this is in the 80s, it was never taken that way. It was taken for what it is. It's supposed to make fun of everybody for the sake of making fun of everybody, but you understood that it wasn't trying to make fun of people and divide races or divide anything. It was just meant to, we're going to take a shot at everybody and we're going to make jokes on everybody, but it's campy.
It's inclusive in the fact that it makes fun of everyone.
Right. And the thing is, if you watch this movie in the right mindset, it is hysterically funny, and it's it is so playing to the lowest common denominator, but that's what endears itself so well to everybody, because you take it for what it is, just a campy horror/superhero movie, and you take into consideration that they are just going to try to make fun of everything.
Yeah.
Nothing is off limits. But again, back in those days, we didn't have that.
It didn't feel like it was done with any malice.
No, that's the thing. Back in the 80s, it was that none of that stuff really was said with malice. No. I mean, sure. I mean,
it's the result of a coke-fueled, writer's room.
Right. Without a doubt. But it was so enjoyable to watch a movie that had no handcuffs, no restrictions.
It was just there for entertainment.
Right. It was purely made to entertain you, and everybody at the time was entertained. Now, again, it wasn't a blockbuster. It became a real cult classic type of movie.
Yeah, it's a fun midnight movie.
Right. But it just, watching it brought me back to a different time when things were so different in society. And just overall, the way that we can say and do certain things, and they weren't taken out of context. They were to what they were meant to be, which is, this is all for fun. Nobody is trying to insult anybody or incite any riot. This was all made for just pure dumb entertainment, which is what movies used to be about. Entertaining people, escapism, having some fun for a couple hours, and nothing more than that.
Well, I think the problem that we're kind of running into now with the way that everything is trending is that, in the late 80s and early 90s, which is when I came up and started paying attention and everything, you had films that challenged you.
Sure.
From socio, and cultural standpoints
Right.
and things.
For sure.
But you also had fun films.
Yeah.
That were just, settle in, we're going to have a blast.
Right.
And it feels like now, because I know we talk a lot about horror on the channel, because to me, that's one of the few sort of genres that still can just be there for entertainment. It doesn't have to beat you into the ground with its message.
Exactly.
And it doesn't feel that way with a lot of other cinema. It feels like every movie has to have a fucking point now.
Right. It has to have a social commentary, and horror doesn't lend itself pretty much to social commentary. I know.
Well, you're rooting for the killers in some instances.
Like if you're watching like a Jordan Peele movie, there's social commentary in his horror movies.
Sure, but I'm going into that expecting that.
Right, but we know that going in, exactly. But for the most part, horror movies don't lend itself to that. And back in the day,
well, some do, but my point to it is that it feels like, I don't think you're getting any sort of agenda with Jason or Freddy.
Of course. Oh, no.
Right.
No. They were equal opportunity slashers. They didn't care what side of the political fence you were on. They don't care about race, sex, religion. They were going to kill you if they had the chance.
Right.
And they didn't matter. That's just what their thing was. And there was no message being sent as to who they were picking.
And that's fun. And even with a lot of the, with some of them you get the social commentary, but with a lot of it, it's just, a good old-fashioned scare, which is why I've been gravitating towards it more, because I need a break.
Right. Yeah. Right. We don't, sometimes, again, you want to go back to movies are escapism to get away from the shitty real world that we have to deal with every day. We want to take a couple hours to go into a different world, a different universe, just have some fun, or just get some scares, get some laughs, whatever it is you're into. But we don't need the commentary that we get in our regular everyday lives. That's what movies were supposed to be about. And unfortunately, we've gotten away from that. And horror does a good job with keeping up with that. But if you go back to these movies of the 80s, early 90s, when you didn't have that, really, so to speak, besides a few movies that were made specifically for that, you get that just fun escapism. It's not reflecting of the real world. It's just...
No, it's not.
Settle in and have a good time.
We're going to kill a couple hours with you. Maybe we'll have some laughs, and that's it.
Right.
But the thing is, especially, not to keep harping on horror or anything, but, I mean, in a lot of horror films, not all, obviously, but in a lot of them, your protagonist is predominantly female.
Yeah.
It's generally,
right,
a female-led medium.
Right. Right, because, again, it made sense. They're the fairer sex. You don't think that they're going to be able to compete against your male murderer, slasher, whatever that might be, but they do. They hold their own. They're usually, for the most part, successful in defeating the slasher. And that's what makes the movie so good, is because you think they're an easy kill, and then they turn out to be his biggest adversary.
Now, how do you feel about, there's like a growing movement that wants to censor kind of, older problematic media?
Yeah, I think it sucks.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, again, why? What's the purpose of it? I mean, again, when it came out, it was a different time. So
right, and
let's
it's not, I don't think anybody is, no one is going back to those like Looney Tunes cartoons and just being like, oh yeah, this is good.
Right.
It's like, wow, this is fucked.
Right.
But
they're insane.
But they were made.
Right. But they were made at a time when people took it for what it is, entertainment.
Well, and, obviously it was a bit of a problematic time.
Right.
But my point is that when you say no, don't look at it, or you add an extra, layer of parenting to this type of material, right? You almost make it more sought after, right? Like, oh, we're banning this, and then people want to see it. Whereas if you just leave it alone, most people aren't going to look for it.
Well, well, that's the thing, right? If you just leave it alone, people are going to take it at face value. But if you start saying what it is, they're going to look for it, and they're going to find it even if it's not there.
Right.
And that's where the problem lies, because then all of a sudden, there's a whole different layer that was never really there, created, and now all of a sudden, this is so problematic. But it's like, well, if you didn't bring it up,
right, no one's going back to that,
right,
except for like historians.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of times,
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think it's very interesting. Did you see that they're going to remake Toxic Avenger?
Yes.
How do you feel?
I mean, Peter Dinklage is to star.
Great.
So, I'm just curious of how that's going to be pulled off. I mean, only for the fact that you took a scrawny weakling and turned him into, kind of a superhero, big, muscular. That's what happened. So the scrawny weakling that was pushed around now is going to avenge the little people like himself. I don't know what your
maybe he'll
is.
just do the voice once the transformation happens.
Yeah, I'm curious to know if he's going to play the
Elijah
actual
Wood is
character.
involved too.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know enough about. I mean, I'm good with them redoing it, but make it campy and stupid and fun like the original one. I don't want a political message. Please don't make it where you're going to try to be poignant and you're going to try to, teach some message of political correctness or any. Just if you make it similar, give me a Tromaville movie. If you want to reboot it, fine, to bring it into a new generation. But give me the same thing. Otherwise, don't do it. It's not worth it.
It will lose something if they,
Well, I mean, obviously they have to bring it
to
modern times.
Right, there's obviously a lot that you can't. So, I don't know if you've ever seen Knights of Badassdom or whatever.
No.
So that actually has Peter Dinklage and like Ryan Kowicki and a couple other guys, and basically they're like D&D LARPing guys.
Oh, okay.
And they unleash a demon. So it's got kind of, similar vibe. So I think if you give that a shot, and it's very good.
Okay.
So if you give that a shot, and you like that sort of vibe, I think that'll translate well into like Toxic Avenger.
Right, and if you do that, cool. Like I said, I know it's not going to be as off the rails as it was in the 80s. We can't do that now in society. It's just not going to be allowed. But you can still, within the confines and the constraints of what we are now, you can still make it just a fun movie. It doesn't have to have it doesn't have to have a meaning. It doesn't have to have a message. Just make a dumb, stupid superhero / horror movie that just is entertaining for the sake of entertainment and nothing more.
Yeah. Well, I hope that's the case, and it's
Me too.
I'm glad that they're playing it on TV because it's a fun movie.
Oh, it's just a great ride.
It's one you want to just grab popcorn, sit down, have a few laughs.
Right.
You know,
right. Forget about everything else and just look at the absurdity and say, yeah, that's campy as hell, but boy, was that just a fun couple hours to kill.
Yeah. So I caught a horror flick.
Okay.
Naturally.
Sure. Of course.
Called Speak No Evil.
Okay. I've heard of it, but I've not seen the movie.
Now, there are two Speak No Evils.
Oh, okay. Maybe I heard about the other one.
Which one did you hear?
I don't. I
the
honestly.
one with Kane in it? Or no?
The one with Kane in it, I saw.
Okay. That's not the one I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think
All
so.
right. I'm talking about the Dutch film.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I figured as much. But.
All right. So, to give you the gist of it, basically, this family goes on holiday in Italy.
Okay.
This Dutch family, and they basically meet up with another family, and they hit it off or whatever. And they're from the Netherlands or something.
Okay.
And they leave their holiday, and they get a postcard a couple weeks later, and they're like, oh, we really had fun with you. Come visit. And the reason I liked it, so it's in mainly English, which is, interesting because normally you'd figure it'd be, but obviously they speak different languages, right?
Sure.
So they communicate in English because it's the common tongue, right?
Yep, makes sense.
So it's interesting. It was good. It was a slow burn, right?
Good.
But it's interesting because the themes are universal, but the mentality of what's happening to the protagonist is very, I think, cultural.
Okay.
Because a lot of my, I guess, horror and frustration through the whole thing was like, I wouldn't let this fucking happen to me. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's very interesting to kind of watch it, and then after the climax happens and it ends, I was almost dumbfounded.
Really?
But I would highly recommend it.
Okay.
Because there is just, it was incredible. It's going to make you angry.
Yeah, good.
But give it a try. Speak No Evil. It's on Shudder.
All right, yeah,
So-
I'll check that one out.
That's a good one. But definitely, I always like to watch. I know you watched Let Me In a couple of months back. I always like watching kind of foreign.
Yeah.
Not just horror, but generally horror, because I think there's just something very, base about what scares us, right? And so to kind of look at a different culture and see how they kind of tackle the themes, there's a commonality to it, but there's almost, it's a different flavor.
Yeah, it always seems to me like they're more, there's no like the jump scares, right? We're not trying to do overly gore.
No, the horror is more ingrained.
Yeah, it's more psychological, and there's something always about the settings, right? When it's not in the United States, and it's in a foreign land, Europe, what have you, the settings always seem like it makes it, I don't know, so much more dire for whatever reason.
Well, it's just old, right? Like a lot of the architecture is
exactly.
just,
It's old. You get that creepy vibe. A lot of times it could be cold. In
it feels
certain
lived
places.
in.
Yeah, and it just seems like it's just always going to be. It seems like there's always going to be something around the corner, but there's not. And then, something else. Again, there's no real jump scares. And so it just keeps on playing on your mind like something's going to happen. Like I'm waiting for it. And then things start happening, but you get that slow burn and you're following it. And it has such a different vibe, those foreign films, than you get in the films that are made in America. For some reason, I like them so much more for that reason alone.
Well, it doesn't feel as I guess plastic,
Right.
Like
Exactly.
the fear isn't as manufactured.
Yeah.
And what I liked about Speak No Evil was that the situation was, the horror was something that any human would think is horrible, but it's the way that they react to the situation that is very cultural. Because I was sitting here as an American, going like, I don't think so.
Right.
And then I obviously I took a little time to digest it the next day and everything, and I was like, I wonder if that's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
Where it's just, but give it a shot.
Definitely.
Once you watch it, we can get into it
Sure.
more. I don't want to spoil it for you.
No, definitely I will.
But yeah, definitely love me some foreign horror.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just something about it that it gives it's just a more creepy vibe, that you can't get in the American films.
All right. Well, what's going on? What do we got?
We got some rumors that we need to kind of talk about.
So Cavill's out.
Cavill is out.
Yeah.
He decided, I'm going to join the writer that took off for X-Men 97.
Yep.
If you're not going to treat the source material that way, and you're not going to do the one thing that is in my contract, I'm out. And again, the Superman money certainly didn't hurt his decision making.
No, it's not like, oh, where's my next meal coming from?
Right. I mean, not that he'd been fine anyway.
No, I know, but
But once the Superman deal happened, it was easy for him to say, I'm out.
It's interesting though, because what I find kind of odd is that Netflix does kind of have their raft tied to him a little bit.
Yeah.
Because Witcher, they were really banking on Witcher.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have a whole cinematic universe. There's multiple shows coming out. Like, they're really putting their money into the Witcher thing. But he was also in Enola Holmes.
Right.
One, and now the second one just came out.
Just dropped, yeah.
Right. So it's not like he's not working with them.
Right.
So I'll be curious to see if this is the end of Cavill's Netflix tenure.
Well, I mean, again, you had your choice. Either get rid of the writers,
right? But
or
it's not
keep Cavill.
not always as easy as just getting rid of the writers.
Well,
but maybe you give them the Hollywood firing,
right? But either get somebody in there that says, nope, we're going to be true to the source material, and you're going to write to that, and if then either you do it or you leave, but that's what we're going to do,
right?
They, again, Cavill gave them the ultimatum. This is what we talked about. This was the guarantee.
And now we're hearing about with the Rings of Power that they're not. So I should probably clarify this point, because I've said a few times that those showrunners are getting fired.
Right.
They're not getting officially fired.
Right.
They're getting Hollywood fired,
right.
Which is they're going to bring
thing.
someone else into, the fold that actually knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to just sit on the back burner.
Right. Exactly. That's all.
Which I think is good, because...
Well, that's what should happen. If, you had your opportunity, you created a disaster, and now you probably have a contract that they can't get out of, so you're going to pay them to sit there.
You're not going to burn any bridges either,
No, but I'm just saying, like, the showrunners probably have a contract, or potentially have a contract, so
the thing
if
of it
you
is,
have to
though,
honor it, sit in the corner, and we're going to get someone else to try to fix this mess.
The thing of it is that the character, for the most part, Disa, I thought, was good.
Yeah.
Not an original Tolkien creation, but I thought she fit in the world well. But everyone else... Oh, no. Sauron was decent. Like, you kind of root for him a bit, which is wrong. Like, you shouldn't want to be rooting for him.
Sure.
And then the rest of them are just fucking insane.
Yeah.
It's like... The thing of it is, with, like, Galadriel and Elrond and even Celebrimbor and stuff, these elves have been around for fucking a long time already. And they're acting like completely different versions of how they're written in the source.
Yeah.
Never mind the story you're telling. Like like that's the thing, is that you can tell a story inside a world.
Sure.
Right? Mandalorian proved that you can do that.
Absolutely.
But you can't fundamentally change characters that already exist in the world.
Right. Yeah. You have to stay true to the world that they're a part of. Again, you can tell your own story.
And who they are as characters.
Right. Exactly. Those are the things you can't do in an established universe. The universe is there, and people know what the universe is and what these characters should be. And all of a sudden, when you go and you're just giving the middle finger to all of that, the fans are not going to accept it. They didn't accept it.
You can tell a story in the universe.
Sure.
You just
if you stay true to the universe.
You have to stay true to the universe, and if you use characters that are already established, you can make new characters.
Sure.
But if you use pre-established characters, they better fucking be accurate.
Right. Right. You can't wholesale change characters that everybody already knows what they are and what they're about, what their motivations are. And you can't wholesale change that. And then all of a sudden, when the fans reject it, say, you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
You're wrong. You, the fan, are wrong.
Yeah, coping.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's
so what
crazy.
else you got?
So we know that Blade has been pushed back indefinitely.
Right, because they can't figure out the R rating.
Well,
why? Something came out?
So the director left, right? So
yeah, I remember that. That was a while ago.
So the rumor mill is this. And again, I don't have it 100%.
Yeah, it's all hearsay.
It's a rumor. What they wanted to do is they wanted the story that was written was a ripoff of Underworld. You know what I'm talking, Underworld.
Yeah, like the vampires and werewolves and shit.
So
Celine?
Yeah. So here's what the story was. Blade has a daughter who doesn't have vampirism, right? I think that's the way to say it.
Can Blade reproduce?
Yes.
Okay.
Because he in the comics he does have a daughter in the comics. So
does she have vampirism?
Yes.
Okay, but she doesn't have vampirism in the show.
Right.
Okay.
But she was going to get bitten, more than likely by a werewolf, right? So taking the story of Underworld, basically the exact story of Underworld.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right? It was going to unleash her vampire powers. And what she was going to do was she was going to bite Blade, kill him, and she was going to be Blade, and that's the movie.
But I wanted to watch a Blade movie.
Yeah, you're not going to get that. What you're going to get is Blade's replacement. Blade was just going to be in it to pass the torch to giving his daughter the powers to kill him then become Blade.
But we haven't even had one Blade movie yet.
You weren't going to get a Blade movie. You were going to, because you had Blade movies with Wesley Snipes. So what you were going to get is Blade's daughter.
But I wanted a Blade movie.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter what the fan wants. It's what they want, which is the virtual signaling.
Why don't you just tell a fucking vampire story then?
Because
why does it have to be Blade?
Because they can't get to Blade's daughter to make this whole Young Avengers thing, which is what they want with their diverse cast.
Yeah.
Without doing that.
Yeah, that sucks.
So Blade was going to be the transition for the daughter to become Blade.
Maybe you don't kill him though. Like, that's the thing, is this is what I don't understand. I am not ever advocate. Look, if people like She-Hulk, cool.
No one likes She-Hulk.
Make more She-Hulk, But just understand that you have to kind of be okay with making, Blade. For me. Like, let me watch Blade.
Right.
And then you can have She-Hulk. Like, they can both exist.
Yeah. I don't know why we need to. So again, the rumor is that that's the script that was given to the director. The director said, absolutely not.
No, he's probably
I'm not
looking to
gonna
tell.
do
He
that.
wants to probably tell a trilogy,
Yeah.
and that's not a trilogy.
Well, it would be a trilogy with the daughter. Ultimately, that's what Disney wants. and
That's what
Kevin Feige wants.
Yeah.
But, again, why would you... I don't know why you would have gotten the actor you got to play Blade if that was what you were going to do, number one.
It's so weird because you know what it is? It's like you're starting a car, right? That's like old and doesn't really work, and every now and then you'll get like a spark of life, but you're just flooding the fucking engine.
Right.
Like I've talked to people, right? Although I will say we had a dinner recently, and I kind of got on my high horse about Witcher, right?
Okay.
Now, for those of you who don't know, like I am before Netflix and everything, like that's my shit.
Right.
Right? Like the games, the books, all of it. I'm in for that.
Right.
And I said at the dinner, I was like, the mages are fucking boring. And somebody pushed back and they're like, I like the mages. And I'm like, that's all right, cool. Well, then watch a show about fucking mages. Don't watch The Witcher for the fucking mages. Watch The Magicians.
Right. But did they like them because they have no other reference other than the Netflix show?
Yeah, probably. But it's just,
because then you're coming from a different perspective
the thing
altogether.
the thing of it is, I'm okay if you like the mages in The Witcher.
Sure.
But like, that's not what the fucking show is about. The show is about witchers.
Right.
So, you want to watch magic and political drama and all that bullshit? There's 900 movies.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You have that. You can find that if that's what you're into. You can find that in a different show.
Right. I can't go watch Witchering and any other shit.
Right.
So, that kind of frustrated me because it's just like I get it, but you're missing the point.
Right.
It's not a show about magicians. It's a show about witchers.
Right.
The magicians are in the world because they help facilitate some of the plot, but the show is about witchers.
Yeah. Yeah. And now with Kevin Feige, what we're getting is
Blade Light.
Well, not only Blade Light, but everybody is starting to have a child, right? We've got a child on almost every hero now that's going to be taken. So, again, it lines up because Wanda and Vision had kids. The Hulk just brought his son. Thor has a kid. We've got, a bunch. We've got some other kids that aren't kids from, like Hawkeye with
what
Kate
the problem
Bishop.
is, though? The problem is, and this is, I think, the biggest misstep. If I'm getting my children, I'm not Nick Cannon. I don't have any kids.
Okay.
But if I'm getting my kids into comics, right?
Yeah.
I'm showing them the shit that I like.
Right. That's typically how you go about doing it.
So they end up liking the Batmans, the Thors, the Hulks, and all that shit. And then if you decide that comics is your medium, then you start to get into the other characters, but nobody hits like the originals.
No.
And so I don't know what the fucking plan is.
The plan is that he wants to replace the legacy characters with the diversity.
See, this is
And that's what it is.
the difficulty of having
all white. They're all white, straight male.
The difficulty of having a connected universe like this is that you can't just go, all right, well, we finished with Endgame. Let's start telling some other stories in the universe. We'll get a new actor to play Iron Man, and we'll tell a different set of stories.
Yeah, unless you want to reboot everything.
No. I don't want them to do that.
No.
We already got Endgame.
Right. No. I'm saying that
There's enough,
that's the only way you could do it
There's
now.
enough content where you can just say, hey, we're going to go off and we're going to tell another, 15 years of Marvel stories with different characters playing your heroes. but it's still Thor and Iron Man and Cap and all that shit. It's just a different story. You know, maybe it's Galactus or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. But instead, you want to keep this continuation going, and we're getting, the thing that's bizarre is that, to me, Blade is an A-list character. I love fucking Blade.
Yeah.
You're going to trade him in for a C-list?
Yeah. Well, see, here's the problem. The problem is that the actors are aging out of the roles, but the characters are not.
Well, that's the problem with the interconnectivity, though.
Right. Well, but what you should do is replace the actors.
Yeah, sure.
Like, again, we all love Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, but look, he's at an age now where you're gonna you have to go younger if you want to do 10 more years of Iron Man stories. But the thing is, yes, we want 10 more years of Iron Man
do
stories.
it with Batman.
Right. So you can do that. I don't know why you haven't done that. Because now you're...
Well, because he's so in love with this idea that it's going to be this just one body of work.
Right. But that's all fine and dandy.
But it's not all fine and dandy.
No. But the bottom line, I mean, realistically, right, I was throwing around numbers in my head. And again, this isn't accurate whatsoever, right? But if you look at Phase 4, now, Black Panther hasn't come out yet at this point in time, so we don't know where that's going to fall. But I'm saying that the MCU in Phase 4 for movies probably made around $600 million.
No, that's not accurate.
Well, think about it, right? Because some made... Right, so Thor: Love and Thunder made about $150 million profit.
Oh, you're saying 600 profit?
Right, profit.
Yeah. That's probably about right.
You think that that's good?
No.
For 6 movies, so far.
Here's the thing. The problem is not, we're not making the money, because who fucking cares? That's all pretend anyway. The problem is you're losing the fans.
Right. So what's happening is you're losing the fans. The movies themselves are being derided, mostly negatively, and even your profit margin is very, very low.
But the thing
is what
is
you
that
thought it would be. So
they're either downright bad, like Eternals, or they're just blasé.
Yeah,
which is just as much of a kill.
Right. And so the thing is,
I saw I saw Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I saw Werewolf by Night.
Yeah. And I'm not even talking about the Disney Plus shows. I'm just talking about the theatrical releases.
Yeah.
But so if this is where you are, where do you go? Like, you don't have your A-list to fall back on. Yes, you have other things like Fantastic Four, X-Men, Deadpool. That stuff's coming. But if you've lost the faith in the fan base,
it's going to be too little, too late.
And this is the stuff you're churning out, you're right. No one's going to believe that you're going to be able to pull those things off, and your fans are going to have moved on to something else, and you're not going to be able to get them back because they've lost faith in your vision.
But here's the thing. Wakanda Forever comes out tomorrow, and it's 161 minutes.
Yeah, crazy.
That's insulting.
Yeah.
And before anybody jumps down my throat, I would say that about any movie. Who the fuck has time to sit for 161 minutes in a theater? It's not coming out on Disney Plus. You gotta go.
Right.
161 minutes is bonkers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
What fucking what story are you telling for 3 hours?
Well, you're
we'll cover a little bit of T'Challa's passing, right?
You're gonna have a funeral.
Right.
And then you're going to have a war between 2 nations.
Well, then we'll have to introduce Namor, right?
Well, yeah, that's the big piece of this whole show.
And then they're going to fight.
Even though it's Namor, not Namor.
Oh, well, fuck.
It's Namor.
Well, I'm just trying to
Because why the fuck not? Like, he can't even be Namor. Like, this is Kevin Feige at his absolute worst.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, again... Who the fuck cares Why can't you just call him Namor? Why? Again, I get the reasoning why they're not Atlanteans. Even though in the comics, Namor came out first before Aquaman. The movie came out.
Right, it's not worth like the potential legal battle and everything. And
so I get right that you're doing Tolokon, that Mayan ancestry.
Yeah, and I'm cool with that because I don't think there's enough representation. So
and the fact that the Mayans believe they were from Atlantis.
Right. So it all jives. Yeah.
That all works.
Yeah.
But he's Namor. Like, why can't you just do that?
I don't know.
Why can't we just do that?
Because it was symbiotes and fucking,
Yeah, it's like, why do you have to piss on everything that we love? Why does Kevin Feige need to ruin everything that the fans of these characters love? It's not asking a lot, but why can't he just be fucking Namor the Submariner? Why does he have to be Namor?
Because it's all so, it's very pretentious.
Right. But all you're doing is virtue signaling and
checking
a box.
What sucks about it is, comic books to me were almost like this sort of, not secret, but it was like a large chunk of the population couldn't be bothered, and you were getting such incredible stories of morality and heroism and so there was almost kind of this sort of like, because of the medium you won't give it a chance, so you're missing out on everything. Now that being said, you don't get to be pretentious.
No.
Like even Marvel's best, MCU's best, doesn't hold a torch to the comic book stuff.
No. Oh, no.
You don't get to be pretentious with the shit that you've churned out. It is commercially impressive.
Yeah.
And the CGI at the beginning was very good.
Right.
But there's nothing to be pretentious about. You haven't. What are you fucking like? How can you be a snob about comic books?
Right. You're not This isn't your creations.
But the whole thing is supposed to be, alternative. It's the alts, right?
Yeah.
The mutants and everything, and it's just like, cool, great. And now all of a sudden you're becoming this pretentious fucking. Well, I know that you say you don't like it this way, but this is how we're making it, and you're just wrong in your thinking.
It was supposed to be that a lot of these were flawed people who were heroic. They weren't perfect, but they did heroic things to help people. And those were a lot of the stories that were told. Now, of course, you have some like Superman who, for all intents and purposes, is a perfect
he's
person.
A god character.
But a lot of them are flawed. A lot of them have personal issues, whatever. But at the end of the day, they know right from wrong, and they serve on the side of right.
Right, they'll make a hard choice,
Right.
They'll do what's right even if it's not easy.
But they're not pretentious. They're not snobs. They're not.
No, but a lot of what it is now, like that's what I think is so interesting, because if you look at these genres, right, like fantasy and superheroes are kind of where we're seeing the most egregious affronts to all of this.
Yeah,
and those genres are typically very gates are open, come on in,
right,
sort of thing. Witcher's whole thing, like a big plot point in Witcher is they argue about, it's elves and sorceresses instead of like the race card, but it's the same argument, right?
Yeah.
They're just using it as a blanket, and. It feels that way with fantasy too. Is like this is an escapism, a world where we can kind of get away from reality and kind of you're in a fantasy world that has different laws and different rules, and what's happening is because you want to modernize it, which again I'm for to an extent, as long as you don't bastardize the work, but as soon as when you take the characters out of the setting, or you fundamentally change stories, or you kill the heroes that we all grew up with, or you ruin their reputations, what you're doing is you're taking what I and a lot of people that feel this way grew up with and used as a way to get away, and you're just fucking pounding the reality of awful back into it all. Like Star Wars, I love the originals.
Sure. Oh, there's nothing
but I
like
can
it.
never not know where it goes.
Right.
Now.
Right.
Like, you assassinated Luke's character.
Yeah.
Like, and now I have to live with that shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, you did an assassination on Han. You did an assassination on Luke. You destroyed the actual heroes of the universe.
Well, you know, Han went out heroically, right?
Well, not really.
Well, he saved his son, like,
Well,
very fraternal of him.
Yeah,
but like Luke, fucking.
But again, after they defeated the Empire, right? He becomes just a low-life smuggler again.
Right.
What? Why? I mean, I understand that him and Leia had the problem and the son, but again, he was the general of the army that took down the Empire, and then he goes back to being just a low-life smuggler. That's what you had him be, and then he gets murdered by his kid without any fight whatsoever. Like, that's what you did to ultimately one of the greatest fighters and heroes in this universe. You put him down to being a nothing. And you did the same with Luke. You destroyed everything that made these characters great. Luke goes off. Again, here's the guy that just took down Vader, the Emperor, and he's off being a hermit, drinking blue milk again.
Green.
Well, yeah, green. Like, this is what you did. Right, but Leia, of course, is saving the universe all
but
by herself.
It's not even just that, because like Leia's a part of it, right? And
right.
I'm great. Great. Yep, that felt right. Leia doing what she was doing felt right.
Right.
It's just that everything else felt wrong.
Right. But which made it look not right.
Right.
When you did all the other
and
stuff.
So now
it made it look wrong for her.
Right. What it does is it taints something that was important, you know, in my childhood. It's tainted.
Right.
And it's just like, you can say like, well, you can just not. Yeah, but that's not how it works.
Right.
I know what you've done.
Right. Exactly.
Like, I know canonically where we end up.
Mm-hmm. Well, and take the Obi-Wan series, right?
Yeah.
That show has now destroyed A New Hope. It's destroyed it.
Yeah, it's taken out any of the. Well, that's the other thing, is that because they're doing so much now, like a lot of those moments, right?
Yep.
Are gone now.
Right. Think about two of the most iconic moments. The first meetup between Obi-Wan and Vader.
Yep.
Now you know, they met up twice before that. So that meeting was nothing in A New Hope now. And when the message was received from Princess Leia to Obi-Wan, they knew each other. They were best friends. It wasn't that you served my father. You and I were buds. We were traveling buddies. We went on adventures together. You don't remember me? I'm Princess Leia. You destroyed everything in A New Hope. You destroyed A New Hope by that Obi-Wan series, and you gave us something we didn't need. We didn't need it. We didn't ask for it. We didn't want it. And now you've destroyed everything about the original trilogy. It's gone. Then you give us the sequel trilogy. You have destroyed Star Wars. For every generation now, Star Wars is dead, and that's why Andor is nowhere.
The problem is this, right? Is that even no matter how good Mando is, right? There's this the sequel trilogy is this overarching, you know, black cloud at the end of the road.
Right. You know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you add prior to that sequel trilogy. It all ends in absolute dog shit.
Right. Your heroes aren't heroes.
Right. Everything you loved was false. Everything you thought was wrong, and everything has been cut to the bone. These people were not heroes. You know who's a hero? These people. These are the heroes.
Right. Not all of them are heroes. It's just that, I don't know. It's very disappointing. And you know what? A lot of it is on J.J. Abrams, and I'm going to be honest with you. It's his fucking fault that these guys got hired for Lord of the Rings too.
Right.
So
exactly.
It's like, what are you fucking doing, JJ?
Yeah. And keeping to this, have you heard what's going on with Indy 5?
So this is what I heard. So they're still being very sparse with details.
Yeah.
But they have done some test screenings. Right. And apparently it is fucking atrocious. Like, people hate it.
So I don't know if you ever heard of Doomcock, who is a YouTuber, right? And it's very, very much to the vein of what we're doing here, right? And he's got a lot of inside sources, right? And he's been on this for about a year now. So they came up with 6 endings. The best ending that Kathleen Kennedy has come up with scored a 35% rating by the people that have watched it. That was the best ending. It is so bad.
Well, the problem is this, right? Harrison Ford's old.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, it doesn't matter.
Harrison Ford said, "This is it. I'm done after this movie." Period.
4 wasn't good because he was old.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have the same feel because he's old. If you wanted to remake it and put a different actor in and tell some stories, sure. But having fucking geriatric Jones running around and trying to do what Last Crusade did is not going to work.
No. But if you wanted to do what you were attempting to do, which was pass the torch to your kid, and he was going to take on the mantle, fine. I would have been okay with that because you're passing the lineage, right? This was his actual kid.
No, because the problem is this with Indiana Jones. It's the time period. You can remake it because you can set it in the same time period, but if you pass it to his kid, then we're getting closer and closer to the present. And so you're taking away.
Right, but what I'm saying is you can still do the same stories. You're going to do it in a more modern way, but you're still looking for relics.
Sure.
So you know what I mean? You're still going to go on the same adventures.
Right, but at that point, you had Uncharted, which did relatively well.
Yeah.
That's just modern day Indiana Jones.
Yeah. I mean, again, though, you're still probably, you can still go through the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, right? I mean, so you don't have to be present day.
No, but I mean, as tech gets, more, that's the other thing is that when he was in the jungle in, say, Raiders, right? Mm-hmm. You feel isolated. When he was in the jungle in Crystal Skull, it doesn't feel isolated. It still is to a point, but it's like, now there were like, sat phones and all that bullshit.
The thing is that, look, I don't know that Indiana Jones was meant to continue. I mean, now they're saying it's going to become a Disney Plus television series after a spin-off of the movie.
Well, right, because they're going to go back in time and kill him off.
Right. And then she becomes actual Indiana Jones, that he never existed. It was her all along.
Right.
And then she goes on these adventures. That's what the plan is. And again, you're gonna and so
but like
this will be the biggest. This will be the worst.
This has got to be the end of it, right? Like, here's the thing: is it can't keep going this way.
No. But the thing is,
yeah, but they did it with Wheel of Time.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon did it with Wheel of Time. They did it with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
They did it with, apparently Witcher now. They did it with Star Wars, and now they're going to do it with Indiana Jones. Like, but the thing is like, you know, you have someone like me who's very passionate about these characters and very, you know, I want to be inclusive, but I want you to respect the world and the characters and everything. You're running out of properties to ruin for me.
Yeah.
So once you ruin them all, I'm out.
Well, I mean, I'm out on Indiana Jones now.
Well, I was out after 4.
No, but I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to give 5 a chance. I'm not, as much as I love Indiana Jones, I'm not giving this a chance.
If they somehow figured it out, right, in the next 12 months, because it's coming out next year, and it comes out and it's lauded, people are like, this is the greatest fucking Indiana Jones ever. I'll watch it. And you know what? I'll say, hats off, Kathleen Kennedy. Good job. That's not what's going to happen.
No.
And it's going to get a 30. It'll get let me rephrase that. It'll get an 85 on Rotten Tomatoes critic score.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
then like a 22 for the audience score.
That'll be what happens. And then all the shill media will talk about how great the movie is, but then they'll talk about, but you lost hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, we don't count that.
And you've destroyed a franchise.
Yeah. But the thing is, look, these actors and actresses that are hired are not going to stay young forever.
Right.
There's a shelf life to this stuff. And the longer you take in between these movies, the older and older these actors are going to get. So, again, I don't know what your plan is, but at some point you either have to reboot it or somebody else takes over, or you just end it and let the body of work for the movies that we love just live on forever. Why do we have to destroy everything? Why does everything have to die a horrible death? Why couldn't, even if you didn't like Indiana Jones 4, it's passable enough that it doesn't kill the other 3. It was fine. Leave it alone. Let people can say, I'm not really crazy about that one. But let's love the first 3. Why do we have to now put this one out? It's going to kill this franchise. People are going to despise this franchise. And look, I know people will still watch Raiders of the Lost Ark just like people will watch A New Hope. But people aren't going to look at it the same way. They're not going to cherish it the same way anymore.
No, it adds a caveat to the...
Like, why can't
an
we
asterisk
just...
to the end of the title.
Let's just stop. Let's come up with new shit, Hollywood, and make something new. Make new trilogies. Make new iconic characters. Stop killing all the ones we love.
Well, the problem is that we've allowed these megacorps to buy up all the IPs.
Yep.
So 4 companies own everything.
Right.
And so when you only have 4 companies that are controlling the narrative, there's no motivation. They don't have to be different.
No.
Because they're very tight with their IPs. And it's like, hey, I have an idea for a Blade movie. Oh, that's nice. Okay, well, I'm going to make it. Cool, but you can't call it Blade, and you can't use Blade, and you can't say anything about the MCU, or we're going to sue you into oblivion.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you can't even... There's no room to kind of, give an Indiana Jones, a reboot treatment, say.
Right.
There's not any room for it.
But we shouldn't need that. We shouldn't want a reboot of Indiana Jones. We should just enjoy the movies we got and then find something else.
I loved Raiders. I loved, and I know it's not everyone's favorite, but I think, Temple of Doom is not that bad.
Oh, no. I love that movie.
I love it, too. Don't get me wrong. It has its moments.
Sure.
And I love Last Crusade.
Yeah.
They are fantastic films. And then I found Uncharted. And that's my modern day Indiana Jones shit. But I play video games, so it's a little different.
Right.
But I get my Indiana Jones fix.
Yeah.
Through Uncharted.
Yeah.
Because they stopped making good Indiana Jones movies.
Right.
Adventure stuff is still awesome.
Yeah.
But that's the medium where I have to consume it now.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Whatever.
Right. And if that's what you want to do, if you want to make Indiana Jones video games to carry on the legacy, do that. Continue making Indiana Jones video games.
I guess
you're never going to age out that
way. So
way.
my point to it is, though, is that to me, Uncharted, Nathan Drake and everything, and, you know, even though that series is kind of finished up, was a kind of a almost rebooted or modernized Indiana Jones tale.
Yeah.
And so it was like, it took everything I love from Indiana Jones and, you know, it didn't change the game. It just gave me more stories in that sort of adventure vein. So it was like, great, I love those stories. This has the same kind of energy in a way. And it's told well.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you need. A different take in the same genre. Make it similar, but it's its own unique thing, and you don't have to destroy what came before it.
All right. Well, you know, I am curious to see kind of. Like I said, I can't imagine this is a sustainable way to go.
No, it's not.
But we'll have to see. So I think with that, we'll put this one to bed.
Okay.
Jim, as always, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no. Thanks for having me.
What's going on?
Just working on some pages for Eva issue number 2.
Yep.
Getting that taken care of so we can hopefully get that out soon. Issue number 1, again, out on Webtoon, so please go check that out.
All right, guys. So that's episode 27 of The Corner. We are crossing into the mid 600s on the sales. The cast is really heating up now.
Yeah,
getting some
getting some international love.
Yeah, international love, but even here, even stateside, you know, you guys are definitely listening. So appreciate that. Nice to know that we're getting the downloads now. That you know, whether you agree or disagree, at least you're listening. CatalystCrafting.com is the main website. Catalyst Creations NH is the Etsy store. We're doing a 30% off $100 orders or more for November. That's like our big Black Friday thing, and then we'll do some sales as we get closer to the Black Friday. You know, but let me know what you guys think. Do you like foreign horror films? Do you like Toxic Avenger? How do you guys feel about the current trend of assassinating our longtime heroes and kind of fundamentally changing characters? Am I a dinosaur? Am I a misogynist because I want things to respect what came before? Let me know in the comments. All right, crew. I'll catch you on the next one.